Algebra Review 1-2, Writing and Solving Equations and Functions. We're going to go through a few of these examples for you to see how they are all worked through. For any of the ones that I do not work through, the answer key is on Canvas. Let's start with number 4. Find the value of each function if f of x equals 1/2 x plus 4. So we're going to work through a couple of these. It's not a multiple choice answer. You have to work through all of your answers to figure out what the range is going to be. So for A, f of 6, you're going to plug that into the equation. So f of 6 equals 1/2. Substitute 6 for x. So 1/2 of 6 is 3 plus 4. It equals 7. Let's do B. So for B we have f of -10. Plug that in. 1/2 of -10 plus 4. 1/2 of -10 is -5. -5 plus 4 is -1. So each of those answers you're going to substitute in and solve that direction. Okay, let's look at number 10. Number 10 says express each relation as a table, as a graph, and as a mapping diagram. So they gave you a list of ordered pairs, and we're going to plug that value into our table. We're going to graph it, and then we need to write it as a mapping diagram. So our first one, let's plug in to our ordered pairs. We have -2, 5, so we're plugging that into our x and y. -2, 5. Our second ordered pair is -1, 1. We have 3, 1, and -1, -2. Okay, so we're just taking our ordered pairs and plugging it into our table. The next one, we're going to actually graph those ordered pairs. Remember, your x value is your horizontal line, your y value is your vertical axis. So -2, 5, you're going to go to the left to -2, up to a +5. Our second ordered pair is -1, +1. -1 to the left, +1 up. We have 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, up 1, and -1, -2. So you're just graphing those. For your mapping, we're plugging in the values, all of our domains. Okay, so we have our domains are -2, -1, and 3. And then our range, we have 5. So -2 is giving us 5. -1 gives us 1. 3 is 1. Then we have -1, -2. See, -2, -5, -1, 1, 3, 1, and -1, -2. You could have also not done the second -1 here and had a line from your 3 to your 1, or that +1. Okay, let's look at number 11. Give the domain and range of each relation. Tell whether the relation is a function and explain. So looking at that graph, you're having to decide what are your domain values. So what are all of your input values, or everything that we have on our x? And right now, the x is starting, our graph is starting at 0. And if you look across your x-axis, it is going to continue everywhere on your positive values. We have an arrow on our graph, so everything represents all your positive values. So we can say that our x, or our domain, the domain is greater than or equal to 0. So it includes all of your positive values on the x-axis. Okay, and if you're looking at your range is your y. So if you look at your graph and you start at 0, and it's going to have all of your positive values increasing on your y-axis as well. So your y is also greater than or equal to 0. Is this a function? You can check with your vertical line test. Take your pencil over your graph and run it from left to right. If your graph only crosses that line in one spot, it is a function, so yes. So your explanation can either be it passes the vertical line test, or you can tell me that each domain has only one range. All right, let's move on to number 18. All right, distributive property. So make sure that you are following your order of operations. Let's distribute first. So 1/4 times 16x, 1/4 of 16 is 4, so we're left with 4x. 1/4 times a negative 12, 1/4 of negative 12 is negative 3. Distribute 1/8, 1/8 times 16x is 2x. And 1/8 of negative 72 is negative 9. Okay, now we're solving just like we would, combining our like terms, moving your variables and your integers from one side of your equation to the other. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm left with 2x minus 3 equals negative 9. Add 3 to both sides. 2x equals negative 6. Divide both sides by 2, and your x should equal negative 3. All right, let's also look at number 19. 19 has 27 equals 3c. Distributive property, you need to be very careful. Make sure that you have everything in front of this parentheses to distribute. So I'm actually distributing a negative 3 to everything on the inside. Negative 3 times a positive 6 is negative 18. And negative 3 times a negative 2c, you end up with a positive 6c. Okay, combining like terms. I have 3c and 6c will give me 9c. Make my 0 pairs, add 18 to both sides. 27 plus 18 is 45. Bring down 9c. Can divide by 9, and I should end up with 5. Remember, you can always plug that back into your equation. Substitute 5 for c. And solve it to double check to make sure that your answer makes sense. All right, let's look at the last one here. We're going to look at number 26. Okay, what is the domain and range of f of x equals negative 2? Remember, f of x is just telling you what your range is. It's telling you y. So we could say this is y equals negative 2. So I'm going to graph that. I'm going to have a horizontal line at negative 2. That tells me that all of my x values will produce a y value of negative 2. So domain it's asking me what can I plug into this function and get a range of negative 2. So any value I plug in, doesn't matter positive, negative, it's going to continue because these arrows are telling me it continues on in both directions. So the domain would be all real numbers. And our range is -2. It's the only output that you can have, or your only y value. Okay, the key for the rest of the problems with the work shown is on Canvas. If you have any questions, I'll see you before school tomorrow.